that
quiet.
door or ask them to be quiet?
The Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee will now come to order. Today is Tuesday, December the 4th, 2018. Yay! And I detect a quorum. The first agenda item is RS 2018-1509, and it calls upon Davidson County Election Commission to ensure that the voting machines in purchases in the future provide a voter verification paper audit trail and that such functionality is implemented. And I do not
I'll move
see...
this to the heel.
Okay. Our next item before us is RS 2018-1510, recognizes Representative Beth Harwell for her 30 years of public service in the Tennessee General Assembly. And I do detect one of the sponsors here. And if we could have a motion to bring this before us.
I'll move.
Second.
So this is just recognizing Speaker Harwell, as we know, is leaving the House this, I guess, in January will be her final days as Speaker, and so she has served us in Davidson County for 30 years, and so we'll be presenting this to her on at the next meeting. So if anybody wants to sign on to this, they need to do it tonight because the mayor is also going to help sign on to it as well. So, so I ask for your support and approval.
Any other conversation, discussion? Renew your motion. All those that approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay.
I've signed on to this next one.
Okay. The next one resolution before us is 2018-1512, and it proclaims December as Veterans Suicide Awareness Month in Nashville and Davidson County. And I do detect one of the sponsors here.
Yes, so
Could I have a motion to bring this before us?
move for approval.
Second.
Thank you.
I think the resolution
discussion?
speaks for itself. It's obviously with all the discussion of PTSD with veterans and suicide, I think it's very timely and appropriate for us to pass this. So with that, I renew my motion.
All those who approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Thank you. The next is Resolution 2018-1513, and it recognizes and welcomes delegates from Nashville's sister city of Toya, China. Syracuse, anybody else that's in here that has signed on to that
There's
one?
a letter to approve. Move for approval.
Would anybody like to see the letter? It was did I have a second? Move to approve. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Thank you. The next resolution before us is a resolution aimed at increasing awareness about cancer in women.
Move for approval.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is this one the sheet?
Any against? Thank you. The next one before us is late filed by, I do detect one of the sponsors here, is a resolution honoring the life, legacy, and contributions of Richard H. Fulton, former congressman and mayor of Nashville and Davidson County.
So this is late filed because obviously he passed away after our filing deadline. And rather than wait, I wanted to get it to the family in a timely manner.
Second. And we get a motion, but I mean.
Yeah.
Motion
So we need to pass it
and second.
through and approve my suspension of the rules.
Second.
and approve that it's late filed. Okay, so all those for it?
Aye.
Any against? Thank you. And we have another late filed amendment.
We need Colby Sledge.
Oh, he is not in here.
He's out there somewhere.
Okay, so I had another one that was to the heel.
This one.
That one, and that is,
Jason?
okay. That's you.
What was it?
It's
He's not
Rosenberg.
here.
Yes,
Oh,
he
right
is.
there.
There he
Okay.
is. Kim's here. He's here.
Playing on his phone. Okay. Resolution 2018-1509 calls upon the Davidson County Election Commission to ensure that the voting machines it purchases in the future provide a voter verification paper audit trail and that such functionality is implemented. Would you like to speak to your resolution, please?
Please, thank you.
Let me
Madam
make a
Chair.
motion on to move the substitute.
Second.
Oh, yes.
I got many
All those in
questions. I got
favor
many
to
questions for this
substitute?
sponsor. So moved.
Any against? Okay, thank you.
Lots of questions for this sponsor.
Now
Lots
speak
of
to your motion, please.
Come on.
Thank you.
questions. I'm gonna roll up here in the middle.
Pleasure to be in front of this esteemed committee. So the Election Commission is going to be buying new voting machines. It turns out they'll be employing them beginning with the August election in 2019, and the machines they buy will feature a voter verifiable paper audit trail. They'll be hybrid machines where you enter your selections, it prints out your selections on a piece of paper, and then you feed it into the counting machine. So the substitute just supports that action and pledges our support in implementing the new system.
Did you talk to, if you don't mind, Chair,
No,
I'm sorry.
please.
Did you talk to Jeff Roberts about this and the cost? Did he say that they could, the cost?
It's what their plan is anyway.
Okay, that's what I was just checking. Sorry.
Okay. All those for the resolution as substituted?
I
Aye.
Against? Okay. I don't know who that goes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
So we're still looking for Colby if you see him.
I got some Hanukkah stuff to give you.
Is that the last thing we have, Colby?
No, we have a late item.
CDS selection. I've got some things for you.
Hey,
Okay,
Dave,
so if you all will,
get Colby,
Okay.
please. Thanks.
so if you all allow me, should we go ahead and put this under so we won't be just sitting here waiting for him? Because we do have another late item that we have to look at, whether we will approve it going forth as a late item or not. And that is the consideration of the questionnaire for the Community Oversight Board nominations.
I have a question for Mike. So this is a late item that we're considering. Can you talk, I mean, this isn't legislation. Can you explain where this came from and why we're considering it?
So the charter amendment that we are fulfilling for the Community Oversight Board does not come under specifically any of our appointment rules. The closest it comes to is Rule 41, which speaks to a questionnaire that goes to a board or commission members approved by the Rules Committee. So the questionnaire you have before you is a hybrid of the standard board and commission questionnaire that goes out to every nominee before you, as well as questions suggested by various advocacy groups, Community Oversight Now, and our office, based upon the language of the charter language.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
And it's my understanding that as of maybe tomorrow, if we approve this tonight, that all the candidates will be privy to this and to start.
If, depending on what you approve tonight, we will edit and make the changes that this committee wishes to see. And then the vice mayor presumably would announce tonight that by tomorrow morning it will be posted on the council website and disseminated.
And since they have to have it in by the 18th at 4:30?
So on the 18th is when the nominations will be due.
Oh.
And then they will have until January, I believe it's January 4th,
Fourth
to
to
submit
fill-
the questionnaire
Okay,
responses.
that's what, okay. Thank you.
So I have a question. So I'm just going back over what you said. So this committee is to make changes to this, not go over to the full council.
Right, any edits or revisions we will capture and put those in tonight and early tomorrow morning.
That we do. Okay. So I'm going to ask my committee members to look again then to see if you have anything else or any other questions or anything.
Did we get
Yes.
input from the FOP for this questionnaire?
I don't recall any questions being submitted by them for the.
But they were given the opportunity to?
Yes, and they had a representative at the meeting that the vice mayor convened a couple of weeks ago.
And can I look over this during the meeting and give it back to the council office tonight?
So I think the committee as a whole would need to approve the version. I don't want to rush you in any way. I think what you might look at would be the questions, at least those towards the end, 36, 37. Those are not standard questions. And I don't want to influence your decision, but I think those have been a topic of discussion in the past.
So of those two questions that you've identified, do they have the opportunity to not answer them? And if they do answer them, are they being checked by anyone? So like if I put down, no, I'm not a bank robber and I actually am a bank robber, is anybody checking that?
No, we do not have the resources. We do not yet know the number of nominations that we will receive, but it is highly unlikely we have the ability to do a criminal background check on the nominees.
And then question 27 says, would your appointment to the Community Oversight Board result in any conflict of interest or appearance of any conflict of interest for you or your immediate family members? If we could add some explanation there, I think that would be helpful. But then also that's kind of, so say I get appointed to this, I say there's no conflict of interest, and then it turns out that my brother is, the subject of something. How does that play out? Not that my brother is a terrible person. Maybe we should say my hypothetical sister. Sorry, Chris Murphy, if you're watching.
So I think this is simply asking for your good faith response as to whether or not you see any obvious conflict of interest. And seeing instances of this in the past play out, it's usually taken to a standard of what should you have known and appreciated at the time you answered this question. And it's always applied as of the time you wrote it. So if you develop a conflict later on, this is not held retroactively against you in those instances.
I
Okay,
think
because that
It's
term
not a standard
appearance,
question.
Yeah, and
that
so,
term appearance of is,
and so we have typically when we've had these interviews in the past, a standard question I think of most of us has been, if a conflict develops, will you recuse yourself? In the interest of saving time, can we add that in here that if a conflict does arise, will you recuse yourself? Just to go, I'm trying to think of standard questions to kind of weed out the minute per interviewer we may need to do that. But.
yes, sir.
So the vice mayor signed off on this?
Yes, sir.
All right. Honestly, I'm a little bit torn. I think, frankly, the questionnaire is terrible. I think it asks questions that are well beyond what's in the charter. I think it asks about stuff that's none of anybody's business. I think it asks some redundant things. But if the vice mayor's okay with it, when people have a heart attack about asking about whether there's charges or an order of protection in the past, because that's.
Why would that exclude?
But of course, they don't have to answer it. This is
Right.
totally optional,
I'm just
right?
saying, when the hubbub comes up, I'm going to say, I thought it sucked.
Yeah.
No, I agree. But this is, so is there, because I know that there has, so when somebody comes before the regular, for a regular board appointment, questions that they have to answer. Is this going to be, can we make it asterisk with what has to be answered,
Well-
as opposed to what is not. And also, there's a double period at 1, and
But-
since we don't have Dave Rosenberg on the committee anymore.
I mean, so we're gonna, between now and 6:30, make motions and approve motions to go line by line about what's optional and what's required?
Well, I think what's optional what would be required would be what's required by all other boards and commission people.
But that's not true, because there's stuff in the charter amendment that's mandatory, like whether or not you've worked in law enforcement in the last 5 years. I mean, I don't think it's as easy as that. I mean, I wish that we didn't have to get this figured out by 6:30.
Yeah, that's the only concern I have.
Especially when the state's gonna
It's-
probably
Do we
overturn
have
this
to,
in a
are
month.
we able to
Yeah.
defer it and come back and have a
That's what I was-
conversation
Is
about it?
it time, is it time sensitive? I thought there was something about the timing of it.
So you do have the option, subject to, I guess, one criticism. So the nominations that are due on December 18th.
Yeah.
You could, the very next morning, announce the questionnaire is available at this site, and we'll also, of course, send it to the address of every nomination we get. That would be after December 18th. There was some discussion at the community meeting that members wanted in advance the opportunity to start working on the questionnaire, hence the reason it's brought to you tonight, so that this could be online. But that's not a requirement at all, and if you would rather take the time to review and
Madam Chair, can
Well,
I
I
mention
think
one
we
other
need-
factor that's on my mind?
Okay, I'm hearing several different things, and I have a hand over here.
I'm sorry.
So-
I was just gonna, I was waiting on you to finish, because you said something that was of interest to me, is that what specifically is in the charter that is required for them to complete, and the rest of this is really optional. And so, perhaps that, we talk about the initial questionnaire, limited to what is mandated by the charter for them to complete, and then vetting some of these questions that we would ask when they come in here and sit before us to help us,
I like that.
filter through who should be chosen. Because I had the expectation that with the community oversight, they have more direction about, the application process. That was some of the questions I had when they wanted to establish this. I didn't feel like it was, they had the ideal of what they wanted, but it wasn't vetted out. And I will share from my background experience in talking with other cities that have had these oversight boards, one of the biggest complaints is that the people selected on the committee, that there's some sort of bias in it. So I would, I think it's a sensitive topic, because once we go through this process, how to fill out the questionnaire, when we make some selections, then, making sure that this board is representative of what the community desired, and not necessarily from our perspective of just putting the same people on boards. And that's one thing I've heard in Charlotte with their board. They said, well, it was selected, the same 5 people are on everything, and they did not carry out the wishes of the community as they saw that they wanted to have carried out when they had an incident happen. And so I think it's just really important for us to be extremely transparent about it. The application initially should just include specifically what they put in that charter, and maybe we can vet some questions that we can go through to help. Like you said, we don't know how many applications it's going to get, so we got to have some kind of criteria to look through it.
And I think, most of us have been together for 3.5 years now.
Yeah.
We all kind of know the questions that we're going to ask and who asks what. Minus our new people. You are still learning us. And so that's where I do think some of this would be helpful. But yes, I think criterion it out of like, these are we need to know this, and then here's the suggested other information for you to give us.
Right.
Because again, we don't necessarily need to know about their 3rd grade turtle, but I do want to know about their views on some other things. Just
And I'm just thinking
Councilman
that we
Mendez,
won't,
you were getting ready to say something
a
before.
diverse board. You don't need-
Did you still need to say it?
Yeah, the last thing that's on my mind, and I don't know what the right answer is, but to Councilor Dowell's point about really, really, really wanting a board that reflects the community. One question that's on my mind is, it could be initially a little off-putting to have a 37-question, 3-page, single-space cross-examination to answer, but we have to weigh that against, what is it that we really want to know? And I'm just, I think there might be some candidates that might feel like 37 single-space question cross-examination about their deep past. I don't know whether we want to ask that level of detail or not. I don't know.
Yes.
I've always been, and I've talked to several of the people that kind of spearheaded this to, as a teacher, when you're teaching something and you want to, the knowledge that your students have acquired, that you want them to acquire, whatever test you give them, it tests that. It's based on whatever it is that you would like to garner from what you've taught. And I'm just curious as to what the individuals that were so just vehemently opposed to us not having this, what are they looking for in these candidates? What's on their hearts and on their minds? What would they like to see in terms of who these people are that will be evaluating and making decisions on a board such as this? So I'm just wondering about any input that they would actually have, and maybe that's kind of far-reaching. I'm not real sure. But like this is status quo as far as the charter, all boards and commissions. I don't know, but I just see this being unequivocally different from the status quo. And what is the desired outcome that group? This, to me, this is so serious. It's just a serious entity in our society. We're talking about, people's lives. We're not just talking about a community, the infrastructure is being upgraded. And I don't know if what I'm saying is, if I'm making myself clear, but I would just like to know. And I don't even know how to get that done. I really don't.
Councilman?
Mike, so when are these required to be
On the 4th.
submitted by the applicants, the exact date?
January 4th.
January 4th, and then how long do we have after that to get them reviewed and then the board voted on by the council? That's
15th,
January 15th, so we've only got one meeting?
correct.
That's when our second meeting in January is the 15th.
Well, we can have
Okay.
a special call meeting.
So, yeah, we're going to have to, obviously, we're
Definitely,
expecting, we're
Yeah.
expecting at least 100 people to apply. I've had 5, 6, 7, 8 people say they want me to.
I have too.
I think with this application, because it's 37 questions, that it will, I'm not confident that we probably have 300 that go in there and fill out 37 questions. I just know that when we're looking at a community oversight board, I don't want their intention is to just I got the impression from the people that are looking to have a board that they want just everyday kind of regular people represented. And so that's why I'm not opposed to this questionnaire. I was just saying I don't want to create a venue that would maybe the person that don't have a college degree or a high school education, maybe they not apply, but is their voice less valuable as part of this committee and as a person representative in the community? And then on the side from the opposition, I know that for any of us, it's important to have somebody with a background in what you do if they're evaluating you. It would do no service to have a committee of people discussing the role a person plays without understanding the job responsibility. So I do like this, part about, participating in understanding what the police do and being willing to go through that process to give them some kind of knowledge about, what an officer does, because at the end of the day, you're evaluating an officer involvement in a particular scenario at that point in time. So it's good to have some context if you're just an analyst at a private company and don't necessarily know what they do. So only concern I have, and I'll shut up, is just I would hate someone having to fill all this out, they decide they don't want to do it. And I don't know if that would be a distraction or from somebody, or not. I don't know. I just would hate that someone says, oh, I didn't know I'm going to have to write a whole booklet. And you end up with, the same folks on the board. And I hate to say that, but, we end up with, the popular pastor in the community. And we end up with, that community leader that speaks out, the one on this group. And so when something comes up, as it did in Charlotte, and I use that as an example, some of the leaders said, oh, yeah, they put the same people on the board. And it's the typical people in the community that we see apply for things and so forth. So I was hoping we could get a larger pool to choose from.
Councilmember?
Yeah, so here's what I keep going back and forth on is yes, this is a daunting, a lot of questions. Some of it we might be able to reformat where it's not as daunting, where we have the section of this is the information we absolutely have to have. But what I keep going back to is yes, the questions might not be perfect or anything like that, but these are very similar questions to the conversation we're going to be having with them. And so rather than us having to ask the question, hear the answer, ask the follow-up back and forth, I do think this saves us some time as a committee going through this. Because, for example, there was during the TIF formulating, if we'd had a little bit more of something like this filled out ahead of time, there was one gentleman who said something that I considered a complete red flag, and for me disqualified him for being on that committee. And I think had I known that ahead of time, it would have cut out a few minutes of, every moment is precious in here, right? Because we're always rushed. And so I think it would have cut out some of that time. So, I can see the value of it, but I can see where it's daunting. But also, this is a heavy committee. And I also think that the expectation should be there that you're going to have to do some heavy lifting and thinking and talking and all of that, so.
Yes.
I definitely hear and respect that, and there's a bunch of questions in here that drive toward that. But there's some, it asks for a residential address, and then it asks how long you lived at that address. And what on earth could how long you lived at that address have to do with it? And then there's questions about, as required by the charter amendment, have you been a law enforcement person in the last 5 years, or the spouse of one, which is the charter requires. And the next question is, have you or your spouse ever been employed by law enforcement? And that's that can only that's not a question that's an appropriate question. It implies that it matters if you've ever been a police officer. And that's the whole point of the 5 years. It matters for 5 years, but if you were a police officer 5.5 years ago or married to a police officer 10 years ago,
it shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't matter. And so I think there's there's definitely some questions in here that I view as appropriate, time saving for us, the ones that are.
Are you an elected official? If you're excluded, why is that even included?
But if it were me, since we got to get this done by the 18th at the latest, and we unless we're going to hash it out at a meeting, I think that we should. What I'm going to float is that we designate somebody in this group, not me, named Jacobia, to work with Mike over the next couple weeks to get the absolutely mandatory per the charter questions collected up front, put a note that the rest is optional, and have the council member we trust work with Mike to propose what the final thing would look like.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Sure.
It doesn't take that long. I just filled out the whole thing in 5 minutes.
Now, I agree with you on that.
Then clearly you didn't put thought into your answers.
No, I'm seriously. I went through and I checked. Most of it's boxes to check.
Yeah.
There's not much to write. I'm just saying is that this is not that big for this kind of a board with this heavy of an influence on the community. It's not that much.
I just think some of the questions can be taken off.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have Ms. Sharon next. Brenda.
I guess I'm sharing her.
But anyway, Councilman Brenda Haywood,
But
please.
when she used the adjective daunting, I was like, this is not daunting.
If you can't answer yes or no to a question, you don't need to be on the board.
I mean, daunting. Yeah.
But I think part of what I heard as well is that some of the questions on here should not be answered, and some of them have to be answered. And so I
No, the
think
question
that's
about the crime, any
I
crime,
think that's a piece of
think
what
you're
we
right.
may be talking about, working with
Yes.
Mike on. Some of them may show prejudice and having certain jobs or certain things that shouldn't be answered. So I think it's not just the time that it'll take to fill this out, but it is the merit of some of the questions being on here and having to answer, and then this not being in a format that says these are what is in the charter, so you have to answer these and you don't have to answer these if you don't want to.
and I guess it's the issue, and everybody's kind of raised the issue, that we all have to sit here and evaluate these people, make recommendations. The question is, how much information do you want on a piece of paper to look at, so we don't have to sit here and ask the question, because I still want to know educational background. I want to know how long they lived in Davidson County. I want to know things about these
Also,
people.
the rest of the council's not in here hearing all of our discussion, and this gives the rest of the council that information that we get firsthand to follow up on. And so I renew Bob's motion to have someone named Jacobia.
Second.
Third.
I'm sorry,
Mike
was that in the
Cummins.
form of a motion? And if so, would you make that again? Because I didn't know it was a motion.
Well, what
I would want to know I would want to know how Council Lady Dowell.
No, I don't mind, but I don't want to take away from what, what I would, just let me say this real quick. I would propose is that we have a page of mandatory, like, just a little information about yourself, mandatory items, and then maybe some of these things that's not so mandatory just on the back side, if we're going to give this out to them immediately. And in that way, like you said, what is required, they answer is answered in there, and whatever additional they want to put in there. If they don't want to tell us where they live 5 years from now, then, I just think the very basic information, are you a resident of Davidson County? I don't know what age has to do with anything, like why we care how old they are. I don't think it's
how much
none of your
education?
business. I don't think really,
Well, it is, if you want it to be represented, you said you want to be representative and average everyday people, and then we get everybody 65.
we can look at them and I think, no, a 16-year-old from a 65, so.
Well, I would hope that part of the, I don't know if this was a motion or a suggestion, would then be that if you have other council members looking at things and they have specific ones that really bother them, like I'm still stuck on that appearance, stuff like that just bothers me, that we could also give those to whoever we appoint to be our person, Jacobia, and she could add that as they talk.
I can do this as a motion. The motion would be that between now and the next time we meet, Council Lady Dowell would work with Mr. Jameson to get a revised draft along the lines that we've discussed, put together for our consideration, and that if anybody on this committee has comments, they need to get it to Jameson by the end of this Thursday, in 2 days, so there's adequate time for Council Lady Dowell and Mr. Jameson to do their work. That's my motion.
I
Second,
it.
call for the question.
Discussion?
Yes, I would like to add, because if we do, next council meeting, we will have the same situation. Wait a minute, this question need to be added, this question need to be required. So for that, can we ask to finish prior to our council meeting and provide us prior to we meet next time, so we will have time to review. By the time we come here, everybody has time to review that draft and then, approve or not approve.
Yeah,
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Do you consider that a friendly motion, or
I think that Council Lady Dowell and Mr. Jameson will get it to
hear
us in
that, get that
advance.
discussion? Okay. Now, there is no secretary in this, so Mike, are you writing down that? Thank you, goodness, thank you, okay. So all
Renew
those
motions.
in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you, Council
Okay,
Lady
thank
Dowell.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacoby.
I hope it'll meet your.
Now, question, do we still need to approve whether we go forward with the lateness of this?
No, there's no vote
So
required.
that-
It just has to
okay.
be approved, and we'll do that before the 18th. or
Okay,
20th.
okay, thank you. Now we will go to another late filed. that's another late filed amendment. That's ordinance, easy for you to say. 2018-1368, and I would like you to thank you so very much for sitting while we snuck one in above you and spent some time talking about it. Would you now like to speak to your late file and why it's late filed and
Sure,
all of that?
absolutely. And thank y'all for the diligent work you're doing in the committee. I appreciate it. This is a late file amendment, and it actually ties into a conversation we were having about another bill in planning regarding the base rezone, essentially from IWD, and it goes to SP, but it has all the characteristics of a mixed-use zoning. Well, those characteristics of a mixed-use zoning included short-term rentals, which I did not want as part of that application. I deferred it to 2 weeks ago and had hoped that the sponsor had been, or the applicant had been around. I just got in touch with them Monday. They have agreed to not have short-term rental or any of these other uses, but their financing kind of deadline is imminent, so that's why I filed it as a late filed amendment. So they have agreed to not putting in those uses.
Questions?
So, so are we going to, is it going to be a base zone or is it still an SP?
It's an SP with the characteristics of
Okay, so it's, so
ELA.
the language is in the SP
Correct.
saying.
Those uses are not, yeah.
I have no problem with Colby being late.
Any other questions? All those who don't have a problem with him being late, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who do? All right, there we
Good. I
are.
need y'all for the next dinner with my wife.
Thank you so very much, sir. Is there any other business before this committee?
Move to adjourn.
There's cake in the kitchen.
Second, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Wedding cake in the kitchen.
Thank you.
Oh, wait.
Light.
Thank you, Mia.